Well, thank you, Lori. And very happy to be here. Thank you to Tory Burch Foundation. And so many beautiful and powerful ladies here. So it feels like we are celebrating already the International Day of Women ahead time. My name is Maria Turpekai. I'm a professional squash player. And the journey of rebellion, my rebellion, started at age 4.5. The day, I remember that day I burned all my girly dresses. I managed to cut my hair. There was like all a V shape in my hair. And my father saw me, and he called me Genghis Khan. So I grew up with that name, Genghis Khan, and freely. And I was able to explore that region where you find girls like cover themselves, they don't leave their houses, they take care of their families. Education is considered vulgarity, and sports is not even a question. So, and girls are bought and sold in marriages. So, it's very outdated kind of, we live in Stone Age. And my parents always believed that our house is a school, is a university. So my parents would learn themselves the Western books that come in our countries. And at that time he would buy them by weighing them, 1 kilogram books, 2 kilogram books. So he would buy children books with pictures, they would have that, and he would learn himself and then keep teaching us. So the grammar that he taught me was very simple. So today the English I speak, I think that's the base because of that. But I was very different since my childhood. So I was just so brutal. Like I would, wherever I was always found in the middle of fights, bruised, bleeding, all here, all the scars. Wasn't very beauty conscious, but it was a lot of trouble for my dad. Every day somebody's knocking on the door, I beat their son. So, but my father, he never said anything to me. He would just give me an axe, the axe, to chop the wood, or bring the water from the well. So to put my energy on a positive side, or sweep the floor. So when you broom, you just walk like a squash player. I think that's why I ended up as a squash player. But it was like my dad today, whoever I am, or the teachings, the acceptance. It's because of that, my dad. And my mom, she was, it was arranged marriage for them, and everybody thought my dad is mental, and in his own family, because he thought different, he was always challenging, and he questioning everyone. And my mom belonged to a rivalry family, so they tried to arrange a marriage to put his mentalness on them. But actually it turned out really well for my mom. She got educated after that, and she is today a principal. My sister was the first experiment also. My dad would take her everywhere in the tribal area, to do the speeches, whatever he would teach her, and then take her into tribal jargas, gathering, the elders gathering. And there were very few boys' schools, girls' schools were not there. So it was like, to encourage all the people that girls are way better too. But I was not even in the sight at that time. I was just always like dusty, and my this was torn, and running around with slingshot hanging through hair from my neck. So when we moved to, and at the same time, I was very responsible too. I would just do the boys' stuff, like bring groceries from outside, taking care of my siblings, younger siblings. And at the time, my mom, dad also tried their best to educate the people there. So my mom became teacher in there. There was one school there, so there were not enough teachers. So she would go walk from village to encourage other families to let their daughters to the school. And my sister was always there, but I was taking care of my younger siblings. But at the same time, it was very dangerous. My mom, dad, my dad left his family, and just because he was very different and he wanted to educate his daughter and his wife, they put him in mental jail, and he escaped from there. And then, he was threatened. They tried to kill him, but he kept moving from area to area, and he had no friends and no family left. But he never gave up on us, and he thought that, why people spend so much time on training animals, like people train roosters for fights, or dogs for fights, or quails for fights. And he thought that why would you spend so much time on that when you have your children and spend time on them to make them better humans? So he was spending a lot of time with us. So, and he never stopped. Like, he brought me shorts at age 7, 8, when I was 7, 8, and I loved them. And from that time, I just wanted to wear shorts all the time. So, and also there were some times that our family was attacked. I was 10 years old when I learned how to use gun. In absence of my family, saw a few people died, shootings there. There will be always fighting, crossfires, some of the houses will be blown up because of the missiles coming. But, I think, life continues. You always look beyond and look for the brighter side, always. The past is past, and you always think and hoping that it's going to be better tomorrow. So when we moved to a city, I was still Genghis Khan there. Nobody knew. And I remember that, I was in the middle of fight, and the whole area and the people were, surrounding me and that boy, but I was fighting. And at the same time, I got a brick to my head, and I was on top of him and punching. And then I saw my blood, like I was completely dripping. So my dad grabbed me, and he took me home, and he said, "What am I going to do with this one? I'm 12 years old, and he can't tell me that I'm a girl and I should stay home, and it's going to be very difficult for me." And he was very sorry for me too, because I grew up very different. I'm not the kind of girl he would say, "So now at least she can go and get married to someone's, and go to someone else's house." So he was very worried, and he would always say that, "You're going to stay with me forever." But I think that, he realized that day that, there were some people play sports in Peshawar. So he took me to the sports complex, and he found the first guy was a weightlifting coach. So he introduced me as a son, and, and he said he's really strong, so he will be really good with weightlifting. Couple of months I did weightlifting. I went to Lahore, and one of the city, and I won the boys championship in all Pakistan under 16. So I came home, and I thought I'm more stronger, so I would walk like this. And my father realized there's more trouble now. But one day I saw some kids playing squash, and beautiful rackets, the shorts they were wearing, and jumping and diving. So I thought this is what I want to do. I told my dad, "You come with me, so I will show you something." He saw the squash, and he was so happy to see that, and he said, "I think this is the best sport for you, because you're not going to be hitting people now. You're going to be hitting wall." So, he bought me secondhand shoes, and he took me to this sports academy. And he introduced me as his son, Genghis Khan, but they asked for my birth certificate. And the director of the academy was very supportive. He was like questioning, "Are you sure that's your daughter?" And then he saw the birth certificate, and he was very happy that finally a girl is going to play sports. So I started playing squash. He gave me a squash racket, the first one. So, soon after I started training hard, but at the same time, when the people realized that I was a girl, it became very difficult. The way they look at you, the way they talk to you, and the news started spreading out in the area, so it was even harder to leave the house. men or boys or all my friends there, I had no one left, and those men and boys, they were all started harassing and bullying and even a couple of attacks. So I couldn't bring every day to my dad those kind of news, and he was himself raising us and struggling with this new life in a city where we come from, tribal area. So it was just hard, and I didn't know who am I anymore, what's my identity. Am I a girl, am I a boy, or what's going on? But because my parents raised me just as a human only. They'd never put this in my mind that I'm a girl or a boy, I'm just a human. So, but the society was like, no, you're a girl and this is how you should be. So I started I was thinking, what am I going to do? And then I realized that I should keep playing. The squash court was the only place where I could find happiness, because I just couldn't go anywhere, to the shops or anywhere. So I would just take my racket, from morning till evening, I would just train by myself. I would not talk to anyone, train with anyone, just do by myself, figuring it out. And 8 to 9 hours I would train. So I started improving a lot. I won 13, 15, 17, 19 senior championships, and I went to Egypt after that. Pakistan Squash Federation at that time, the air marshal was very supportive, the president of that federation. He wanted girls to play at that time. So, Pakistan is very diverse. So there are Pashtun society, and there are more Indian, Urdu-speaking people. So I'm from the Pashtun side, Afghan and Pashtun, we are all same culture, and it's very rigid and very strict. So that's how I started to improve. I went to these championships. I started performing internationally. I won the third position in World Juniors, and many international tournaments, and it was all over the news. At that time, President Musharraf was there. And he was very supportive of women in sports. So I got many awards. But at the same time, the Talibanization was at the peak. It was 2007, and bomb blasts were every day. And every Friday, that my brothers couldn't go to the mosque. You would know that there's a bomb blast every Friday too. So I kind of, at that time, when it was all over the news that I won those championships and I got those awards, I got threats from the Taliban, Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. And that Waziristan, where I come from, and I'm from Wazir tribe, you would know better than. So in Waziristan, it's a hub of Talibanization, headquartered to Taliban, terrorists. So I just had to choose whether I play sports or I stop. But my father was worried, but at the same time he said, whatever you choose, I'm with you. But I had to stop playing, and I started playing in my room for 3 years. I couldn't leave. Even though the Pakistan government, they provided me undercover security, and they put snipers on the squash courts and a lot of checkposts on the way. And even if you go today to the squash court, it's fully blocked completely. But I thought that even if something happens to me in the squash court, there's so much glass, a lot of kids will be hurt too. So I stopped going out and I started playing in my room for 3 years, even though neighbors were complaining. So I would just switch the wall. But at the same time, I realized that I have to get out of this country. So I sent thousands of emails all over the world. Just one good email I wrote, and I cut and paste and sent it out. So 3 years later, I got an email back from Toronto, from National Squash Academy. And I got really happy, but at the same time, I thought maybe somebody's bullying again. So I wasn't really sure, but I applied for the US visa at the same time. And I don't know how I got it. I wish I could meet that officer, the immigration officer, because I didn't have my return ticket. I didn't have a bank statement. That's what they need for visa. And I just showed them my CNN interview. And he said, "You're good." And I'm like, okay. So I came to the US. I came to Philadelphia, Delaware. So I had a one-way ticket, and I had a few $100, and I was here for tournament, so I had 6 days stay during the tournament. So I thought I have to find a place after that. So when I came to Delaware, I heard that US is big and a lot of buildings, but it was a country like Delaware.
Delaware? Because it was Delaware.
It was just snow and big trees and some horses, and I told my dad, I'm like, this is not like movies. It's like different. So, but I told my dad that I don't know where to go after this, like there's nothing. So luckily some guy came to our house, and my father asked if he knows anyone in the US. And luckily, I don't know how, miracles, I would say. And he said his friend's friend, he lives in the US. So I got connected with them, and they were in North Carolina, so they flew me there. And that time 2 months I was with them, and then I realized I had this email from Canada. So I sent a message back, and then I finally ended up in Canada. So, I started performing really well and playing better. I healed a lot because I never been to doctor before, and I did have no idea how to overcome the pain or heal myself. So I was always training hard, but I had no idea that why the pain is in the body. That's always they teach you. When there's a pain, it means you're improving and you're becoming champion. So, but I healed a lot, but also psychologically, because I would feel no legs when I wake up, or it was always numb. So they took 2 years, doctors and stuff, and half of the side was always very numb. Because of stress, I would say the nervous system. But today I think also there's one thing that I also want to mention. That coming to the US, you hear a lot negative things back home, that they're against Muslims or Pakistan, and they think we are terrorists. And coming from Waziristan, it was very hard decision. I'm like, what if they think I'm terrorist? And as soon as I land at the airport, they're gonna put me in jail. But that's the thing that you have to overcome those bridges of fear or confusion. Once you decide, you always have to look beyond that and the joy that you see out there. And that was always for me. I was always daring because I never thought of the second thought. The first whatever come in my heart, I know it's a message from God. You just go for it. So that's how I said I'm gonna go. And my parents said, my dad had hippie friends long time ago. So he said they were good people. So that's why when I came here, I just found them very different. People have so much humanity, and the Islam that they talk about is real here because there's so much education. They take care of each other. Women are empowered, and there's so much respect, and the law is strong. The democracy is strong. It's all things are important. But in our countries, we don't even care of animals. The dogs or the turtles. We don't care for them. We don't care for humanity. We don't care for women. Everybody's suffering. Children are suffering. They're abused. Child abuse is a lot. Women are attacked, like acid. Honor killing is a lot. Domestic violence is a lot. Women don't have voice. They always, not even in the government level. At least a law could have been protecting them, but no. they are the one always, suffering. They are put in the jail even if they are, they are do something, commit crime in defense. So there's no ending to that. But today, I'm in such position, and I feel that it's my responsibility to do something for those girls. I've seen a lot of young girls getting married in young age. They look like, they will be my age, but they will look 50 years old. I have seen a lot of girls whose husbands were they were drug addicts, and they had to beg on the roads. And they didn't have education, they didn't have skills. That's why they couldn't do anything, couldn't stand on their own feet, and they were always left on the edge to fall. So we always have I feel that this is important for them to get education, learn skills, and playing sports gave me the opportunity to learn about different cultures. And it's always important, the water to stay clean or fresh, it has to keep moving. When you travel, when you go around, you learn more, and you realize we are all as human as them. We are all same and one. And that's what happened to me. I'm practically educated. I don't have a school degree. My mom, dad taught me at home. And that's the thing. Some people believe that you have to, like the education, we don't have a proper education system in Pakistan. You go to schools, but you don't learn the things that you should be learning. There is no humanitarian kind of education system. It has to be teaching you about love and respect, the morals and ethics. But it doesn't teach you that. It teaches you hate. It teaches you, negativity. Like right now, you're seeing between India and Pakistan, what's happening? That's the brainwashing. That's the education system. If we were educating them positively, we would not have been fighting on the border. That's the problem. So we always have to teach positivity, and that helps me to survive. My mom, dad, they taught me positivity, and this is who I am. And today I have a Tory Burch Foundation, and through that I want to, I want to see every girl, woman empowered through sports and education, and to be able to be part of this change and lead their communities to peace. Thank you. Thank you.